What's up, everybody? It's your boy Corey coming at you with another spicy deck profile for the new format. This one's going to be Spright Melffy. I think it's a really good choice. It's got a lot of tech spots. This build's going to be set up for just my locals, but I'll discuss what some changes I would make if I was going to a bigger event like regionals or the upcoming remote duel YCS. Let's go ahead and get into it. First, we're going to start off with the Spright package. We've got 3 Spright Blue, 3 Spright Jet, 1 Carrot, 1 Red. I mean, it's just the pretty standard ratios. Blue and Jet are probably the best cards in the deck. Red and Carrot come up. They're really nice. Not really a whole lot to say on that. We are playing the Nimble package because we are playing Sprites. The 3 Beaver, 2 Angler, that's become pretty standard because we're playing Sprind. This card's a little bit worse in this build, and we'll kind of discuss that a little bit later, but this is actually just the entire Spright package. We're not playing Swap Frog, so that's kind of why this is a little bit worse, because we can't go gigantic summon swap, bounce swap back to hand, pitch this, and then save the Sprind. But yeah, that rarely ever comes up as an issue. And now we're gonna get into the Melffy package. Playing 3 Wally, 3 Puppy, 2 Caddy, 1 Penny, 1 Finny, and 1 Pony. Wally is probably the best Melffy in the entire game. What it just says is whenever an opponent no more special summons, you can bounce it back to hand and summon 2 different Melffys from deck. 99% of the time it's going to go get Puppy and Caddy. Sometimes it'll go get Pony or Finny depending on the game state. Puppy summons a level 2 beast from deck. Caddy adds a beast from deck to hand. Penny is basically Hoppier Squadron. If a beast has been bounced back to hand, so for example, if any of your Melffys activate, you can use this effect to quick synchro, and it synchros with using itself on field, and then Melffy's in hand. Finny summons any beast from hand. We're going to get into why we play this in a little bit, but it comes up every now and then. And then Pony adds a level 2 beast from grave, except for itself. That's it for the Melffys. And we've got some of our generic beast targets, Hoppier Squadron and Calantosa. This is what you're going to be summoning off of the Puppy 99% of the time. Whenever it's summoned by the effect of a beast, you can just pop a card on field. This is not once per turn, so if you happen to have a way to bounce it back to hand after you've used the effect and you can summon it off Finny, you can get another pop. It's also why we play the 1 Finny, in case we draw it, because we're only on 1 copy. Hoppier Squadron is just like Penny, except it can always just quick synchro by targeting a monster you control. This is 99% of the time what you're going to be adding off of Caddy, just because it's less, just because it's generic. We're playing 3 Fenrir. This card's just absolutely disgusting in this format. There's a lot of Spright at my locals. There's a lot of just like non-tier limits decks, so this card really comes in clutch. If you're expecting tier, you can cut this for Bistrels, and we'll get a little bit more into that later. For spells and traps, we're playing 3 starter, 1 smashers. That's the Spright package everyone's familiar with. I'm playing 1 Gamma Burst because this deck does kind of struggle with closing out games sometimes. So this is just nice to have. And then to finish off the spells, I'm playing 3 Triple Tactics Talent. This is another one of those cards that you can kind of like cut to the side if you're expecting a lot of tier limits. You can just swap this out for some more Bistro monsters along with the Fenrirs. That's kind of why I like Spright so much, is it's just very, very malleable, very, you can just kind of tech it to do whatever you want, even if you're playing like multiple engines. And for the traps, I'm on triple impermanence and 1 double cross. Again, imperms, just another, this could be Bestial 7, 8, and 9 if you're, like, if I was going to the remote duel YCS, I would cut the 3 triple attacks, the 3 Fenrir, and the 3 imperms, and just play 9 Bestials and just call it a day. The double cross is relevant. It comes up to, typically you're going to be using this to attach your opponent's monster because you're going to be always ending on an XYZ, but it can also summon from grave. It's really nice, and it also just steals. If you don't really have like the greatest board, you can just like steal something, put it to a zone that your elf points to, and then you'll just have that available to you as a resource. For the extra deck, I'm on 1 Sprint, 2 Elf, and 2 Gigantic for the actual just Spright archetype cards. This is this actually always just sends Angler. If we open Beaver Angler, we don't really have the ability to make this, unfortunately, but this is a part of our end board because we're always going to be ending on that Melffy of the Forest from the Melffy package. So this is always going to have something to attach to bounce, and so you can use this to construct chain links as well to chain block your Melffy Wally. So you can go Wally chain link 1, Sprint chain link 2, detach, bounce, summon back the Wally, and then if they continue from there, you can just keep playing. 2 Elf, 2 Gigantic, that's just kind of standard for the Spright stuff. For the Melffys, we're playing 1 Melffy of the Forest, 1 Joyous Melffys. Melffy of the Forest detaches a material, searches any, and I mean any, just Melffy card, so it can even search the spells and traps, which we're not playing, but if you were playing pure Melffy, you'd be able to search it in that. 90% of the time, this is searching Wally. If we open the Wally, this is searching Penny, which is why we typically search the Hopier Squadron. That way we can quick synchro twice on the opponent's turn. And Joyous Melffys, the most relevant part of this card is the fact that it's 2000 attack and it can attack directly. So it's good for making Zeus, but it can also special summon by bouncing an Xyz to the extra deck and then summon beasts based on the number of materials it had. So it can kind of recycle stuff too. Synchros, playing 1 Mary Melffys and 1 Herald of the Arclight. This card is just absolutely disgusting in this format. This is why we search the Hopier Squadron, because as soon as we know we're playing against tier limits, we can just skip the Wally because the Wally's not really going to do anything for us. We can just go straight into Hopier Squadron, make the Herald of the Arclight, and then now everything that they send to the graveyard is banished instead. This summon, when on summon, it's a bounce to the hand, and then when an opponent normal special summons, you can put this back in the extra deck to summon a Melffy Xyz. So that's pretty nice because it can bounce itself, summon a Melffy of the Forest out of the extra deck, and then, or it can even just summon the Joyous Melffys. Joyous Melffys can put the Melffy of the Forest back, summon back stuff from the grave. There's just a whole resource loop going on with that. Generic cards, we're playing 1 Phoenix, 1 Dark for the links. Phoenix, I've been playing this because I'm expecting a lot of Dimension Fissure, a lot of Macrocosmos. Just generic spell trap removal on a monster, especially when Mystic Mind doesn't exist, is just a lot better this format, thankfully. Centauria and Soul Sweeper, these are just kind of standard in Spright. This could realistically be a Mannequin Cat or something of that nature, or just any other generic rank 2. It could even be the Mosquito if you want to burn in time, but Joyous Melffys is also good at that. And then 1 Downward, 1 Zeus, because this deck is just so good at making Xyz. For the side deck, I'm on triple Dark Ruler, double Skullmeister, triple Shifter, 2 Storm, 1 Duster, 3 evenly matched, and then the absolute spice for this deck is 1 King Tiger Wanghu. So we're all familiar with a lot of these cards, so I don't really need to explain them. These are just going second board breakers. Same with this. These are pretty much exclusively for the tier matchup, but they're relevant in other matchups. And this, while this monster is on the field, any monster with 1400 or less attack that is normal or special summoned is destroyed. So we don't bring this in against tier. We typically bring this in against Spright. We can bring it in against birds. We can bring it in against Exos. It's good against everything. It's kind of crazy, actually. It's good against everything except specifically tier because they want their stuff to go to graveyard. And it's just kind of wild. And I can even do like a little quick combo just to kind of give you an idea of how the deck plays. We're just going to start with a beaver and no other cards in hand. We're going to normal the beaver, special the angler. I do it this way because I've been playing around Nibiru a lot more lately, and I like to end on the Sprind as opposed to going into that line first. But summon gigantic, effect attach, summon out blue. Blue searches Jet. Jet 99% of the time I'm going to be searching double cross. If I have a single extender that I can use, I'm going to search the smashers instead. Then we're going to link these off. Doesn't matter which one you link off, but you do have to get rid of the gigantic. We're going to go into Elf next because we want the zones. Elf, summon back Jet, link those off for Sprind. Sprind is going to send to the other angler. Angler's going to summon the two beavers. We're going to overlay those for Melffy of the Forest. Effect attach. That's going to add your Wally. If you already have Wally in your hand, it's just going to add the penny instead. And in the end phase, you're just going to go Wally effect to special itself. And what's going to happen is your opponent's going to summon. 99% of the time, you're going to bounce the Wally to your hand. You're also going to have one of these set. But 99% of the time, you're going to bounce the Wally to your hand. Summon Puppy. Summon Caddy. Then if your opponent's, then you can use Sprint effect if you want. You can use Melffy of the Forest effect if you want to negate. Then you're going to, whenever your opponent summons again, you're going to go Melffy, Puppy, Chainlink 1, Caddy, Chainlink 2. Caddy is typically going to add the Hopier Squadron. If you searched the penny, then you have the extra follow-up. But it's typically going to search Hopier. And the Puppy is always going to summon Kalantos out. Kalantos on a new Chainlink is going to pop. And then you still have these effects that you can use if you want. This just targets a monster, negates it, and it can't attack. This bounces by detaching a material, which is why we kept the Melffy of the Forest in play. We also have this to steal. We have this to banish. Then, on resolution of that, we can usually Hopier Squadron, targeting the Kalantos, so synchro those. For the Herald of the Arclight. Or we can go into the Merry Melffys. Merry Melffys will bounce. And then if we have the Smashers set, we can just Elf, summon back Beaver, banish Gigantic or Blue or Jet or whatever, banish the Beaver. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 interruptions off of just Gigantic. 6 if you opened the Wally so you could search Penny. Plus any hand traps you might have opened, or the red, or the carrot. So that's pretty wild, just 5 interruptions by itself off of just a Gigantic. We're not playing the Toad, we're not playing Toad at all because we would much rather just make this, because it searches out the best card in the deck. And now, where this card comes into play, it's a little bit different. But we're going to do a similar combo. We're going to go Beaver, Summon Angler, make the Gigantic. Summon out Blue. Where'd you go? Summon out Blue. Blue add Jet. Jet add Double Cross or Smashers, depending on whichever one you want. It's whatever. It's going to look the same until you are at exactly here with Melffy of the Forest and a Beaver underneath it. Once you get here, instead of going for the Puppy and the Caddy off of the Wally, you're going to go for the Caddy and the Finny. And then you're always going to have the Wally in hand, so you'll always have a legal target for this. So on the new chain, you can go Finny Chainlink 1, Caddy Chainlink 2. Caddy's going to bounce itself, search the Wang Hu. Finny's going to summon the Wang Hu from hand. And then now we can sprint, bounce. We could Melffy the Forest negate, and then anything else they try to extend with after that, if it's got less than 1400 attack, it's just going to continue. It's just going to keep being popped. So that's kind of my favorite part of this deck. Just want to go ahead and give a quick shout out to the boys at Airfare Gaming. You know, they're always trying to support all the members of the team. We all just got jerseys recently, so that's pretty hype. Also want to give a shout out to the Fayetteville scene. I want to give a shout out to the Florence scene as well. Putting out a lot of good players, kind of helping people innovate. And just kind of go ahead, give a like, give a subscribe, join the Discord. And keep an eye out, because I'll be putting out some more spicy stuff for the new format. I'm already working on a couple of new things, but I'll have to keep those to myself for a little while. Peace.